Hey, everybody, welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kirby, and of course, we talk with small and medium-sized nonprofit leaders. Today on our Thursday podcasts, give you some advice, give you some inspiration, talking about how to do good in the community. I got a good one for you today, folks. I want you to pay attention, give your full attention and all of your awesomeness today. Jason Taylor, Executive Director of the Bur Oak Land Trust. Welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast, my friend.
Awesome, Patrick. Thanks. Great to be here. Really appreciate everyone being able to pass our message along to everybody in your audience.
I am ecstatic about this. I'm also ecstatic to having people kind of look through iTunes. They're looking through Spotify. Maybe they catch us on YouTube and they're like, Bur Oak Land Trust, this sounds intriguing, but I don't know much about them. So, Jason, as a 5,000-foot view, who are you? What do you do? And why we're chatting today?
Absolutely. Thank you. So Bur Oak Land Trust, we are a conservation nonprofit that's based out of Iowa City, Iowa. We're one of hundreds of land trusts that are all across the country. And so a lot of people don't know what land trusts are. They've never heard of them. Before I started working at a land trust, I really didn't understand exactly what they did. So the idea behind land trusts is that there is really important land that is still unprotected in this country. It doesn't belong to the federal government. It doesn't belong to the states. But this is land that needs to be protected in some capacity because it harbors some beautiful species, some amazing plants and animals that we want to make sure exist there, not just next year, not in 10 years, but we want to make sure that they exist there for hundreds and thousands of years. So land trusts are able to come in and we can help protect that land. Some of it maintains in the private landowner's hands. Some of it we actually own ourselves. And then we're able to manage that land because everyone that works with land knows you have to actively manage land in order to make sure that it still contains all those species in the future. So that's the real high level of what a land trust does. It finds and protects valuable land. And by valuable, I mean has high biodiversity.
I love it. How many, I'm going to go with acres because we'll work in acres. How large of an acreage do you at the Bur Oak Land Trust have under your umbrella?
Yep, great question. So we protect 1,000 acres. Of that 1,000, we own about 500 of those acres. And then we work with private landowners to protect the other 500. And so again, it's there's multiple ways that you can help protect land. There are absolutely large land trusts in this country where they protect hundreds of thousands of acres. The largest land trust that everyone knows, even though they don't know if it's a land trust, the Nature Conservancy. They own and protect, and they do a great job, and not only in the United States, but internationally. And so when you think of the Nature Conservancy and think of what they're doing, we're doing that, but on a different scale. We're doing it on a regional community scale.
So if somebody who's an individual who wants to put a piece of land in the trust, but they've got to make sure they're maintaining it. That was one of the interesting pieces that you just mentioned out of the gate. How does that work? What sort of things would you have to do or want to do to maintain the land? Because I'm thinking, and probably everybody else, like, all right, just leave it alone and it's going to be good, right? So there's probably some little proactive things you're doing that I think are a little bit under the surface. I'd love to explore that a little bit. What are like one way that an individual who has this in the trust could do or should do to make sure that that land is now conserved and a little action oriented that way?
Absolutely. So there's two types of species that we like to talk about. There's what's called native species. And these are species that existed here in a pre-settlement time period. So before European settlers came to the United States, those species were on this land, be it if it's in California, if it's in Iowa, if it's in New York, there are species that existed on that land. And then there are species that have been brought in. And sometimes they cause all sorts of problems where they'll actually push out a lot of the native species, or they'll create what's called a monoculture where you only have one species present and you don't want that. And so one of the biggest things that people can do on their own land is learn what are the native species, the good ones that you want there, and which ones are the invasive non-native species. Because really what we should be doing is everyone should understand the difference between the two and then learn how they can try to get rid of the invasive species to stop spreading them.
And one of the cool things is that's very cool for your front yard anyway, right? Everybody wants to do this sort of like, hey, how is your land? I like all of your shrubberies and things. Great, all native species. It's cool. You want to do that too. One of the things that I think is really a challenge in the nonprofit world is either, oh my God, we would do more fundraising, or hey, there's another thing that's coming down for our budget. And oh my goodness, this is just horrifyingly mundane day to day. What is the story of impact that you can go back to all the time that reminds you of why you get up every day to do what you do?
Absolutely. So this is a recent one, and this is one of the big ones from my time at the trust. So last July, I was contacted by an attorney. He said, "Hey, I have a couple of clients they live on a farm that's been in the family for over 100 years, and they're interested in protecting some of the property because they feel that it's so important for them to know that it's going to be taken care of when they're gone." And so I started looking at the property. We went out and viewed it. And it is one of the most beautiful properties I've ever been on in Iowa. And a lot of the species that are there are very unique. We have on this property cactus species that are native to Iowa. Not many people know that there are native cactuses. So we have sand prairie, we have beautiful wetlands, we have oak and hickory savanna, all on this one property. And so we started working with them and talking about what their vision is. How do they want to protect that land? What do they want to protect it against? What did their kids think about all of this? And so over the last 8 months, we've been working with them. And 2 weeks ago, we finally closed. They made a donation of 198 acres to our land trust so that this piece of property is going to be protected, not just for the next year or 2 years, but it's going to be protected forever. So one of the beautiful things that we're going to be doing is we're going to learn every single species that we can find on that property, because that provides us with a really good idea of how we can effectively manage it moving forward. So every chance I get to get out there on the weekends, on my days off, I go out and I just walk around this property because it just means that much to me.
My whole family grew up in Iowa. I went to school in Iowa, and this is the first time I've ever heard the term cactus in Iowa. You learn something every day here on the official Do Good Better podcast. One of the things that I'm sure you have as sort of an executive director, especially of a land trust like this, are outrageously unique challenges because of such a unique organization like a land trust. What has been a significant challenge, and how did you overcome that as a nonprofit?
So I started at the trust in 2018, but I became the executive director in August of 2019. So I had a solid couple months before COVID hit. And during the same time, we did have some staff turnover. And we also started a program through the AmeriCorps program. So we had just a lot of changes that were happening all at the same time. And then on top of that, just like everyone else in the world, we had COVID just throwing wrenches at everything that we were trying to do. So we really had to step back and really figure out what was important for our land trust. What are the things that we knew that we could not do without? What are the things that we thought that we could get rid of for a short period of time? And what are some things that we have the ability to get rid of and kind of shed them, not come back to them in the future because they weren't effective? And so COVID really provided us with an opportunity to take that step back and look at absolutely everything. One of the problems that we've had with our organization is if you're trying to do all of this work on the land, on these properties, you just need people. You need individuals that are able to assist, not just for a couple hours a week, but massive amounts of time. And so we looked to the AmeriCorps program as a solution. So that started exactly when I started as the executive director. And we went from a 2.5 FTEs, we had 2.5 staff members when I started, to now when we have about 15. And so we're finally at the time where we're able to really get all of that work done that we truly want to. And so figuring that out, and it's a federal program, it's a federal grant, figuring out how to do all of that, how to build a team, how to train all of these individuals, that was a massive challenge, but I am just absolutely thrilled with the results. And so I see it as the staff changeover and the development of this program was a big challenge, but it's turned into this huge opportunity for us.
I think anybody who is a nonprofit leader listening to this understands the 10,000 hat mode that you just went into, which is HR director, hiring firm, manager of the programs, volunteer coordinator, fundraiser all at once. I think we all get how that goes too. And speaking of which, as you do wear 10,000 different hats, I bet you have got a tip or trick up your sleeve that you could help a nonprofit leader out today. So is there one thing that you would tell an executive director, a nonprofit leader, a fundraiser, anybody else to say, hey, this worked for me, it might work for you, tip or trick that you can share today?
Yeah, one that's kind of on a larger level is when we were able to take the step back, diversify your impact in the community. A lot of nonprofits really do hone in on the one thing that they've been able to do well over the course of many years. And I'm absolutely not saying that you need to go completely outside of the lanes and start doing, absolutely everything. But try to figure out if there are things in your community where your organization has the capabilities to help. So one really quick one is that we realized that we had a massive storm come through Iowa, the derecho in August of 2020, and we had trees down absolutely everywhere. It was huge. And so we realized that we had the skill set by doing all of this Sawyer work, using chainsaws on all of our properties. We have the ability to actually help with disaster responses. This is not in our normal scope of practice. So, but we learned a lot. We were able to get out there and help. And we've actually started a completely new program where we're able to respond. Our staff, our AmeriCorps members, our board members are trained up, and we're actually able to respond to disasters, not just in Iowa, but in other parts of the country as well. So again, diversify your impact to the community. There's probably little things, there's probably large things that you're good at that you're able to then provide to your community.
A really good reminder to go and talk with other nonprofit leaders, other organizations outside of your own horse blinders piece, because there's probably a partnership out there that really needs your skill sets. They don't know about you, you don't know about them. And that's how you grow not only your donor base, but your supporter base. And remember, you got an abundance mindset on there because nobody's stealing all your donors. Nobody's stealing your volunteers. You're just trying to work together to make the world a better place. And I think people want to make the world a better place, but they don't know where to go to donate or get a hold of the Bur Oak Land Trust. Jason, how on earth do we do that? How do we send people there? How do we send them to get more information? Most importantly, how do we give you a boatload of money?
Well, that sounds fantastic. So buroaklandtrust.org, and that is BUROAK landtrust.org. That's our website. Lots of information on there about all the properties that we own. For those that are local, for those that are in our region, we offer the public the ability to access all of our properties. So you can go out hiking on our properties. And so we try to provide that as a benefit to our community again. Obviously, we have a donate page on there. So donations, how they're used is we use them for the land management. We're out there trying to protect more properties. So the donations that we get are for making the land better and protecting more land in the future. That's our bread and butter. So that's the main way that you can contact our organization.
I love it. And as always, we will have those links in the show notes. So when you're done with this podcast, number one, you click on this like button, you click on this share button, you click on this 5-star reviews. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Where on earth are you going to talk about fundraising tips and tricks and cactuses in Iowa all in one show? The answer is you're not going to. So this probably deserves a little 5-star rating, doesn't it? And then get immediately back into the show notes and go click on the Bur Oak Land Trust links. Go and find out a little bit more information. Go donate. Jason, thanks so much for what you do. A super unique, fun conversation, unbelievable things that you are doing, not only for the state of Iowa, but connecting the dots on conservation nationwide. I would like to brag a little bit and say that I am a lord of the Highlands, because in Scotland, they do something very similar where you can buy a 3-foot plot of land as part of their land trust, and I now own one, and I'm a Scottish lord. So I feel like you and I are a kindred relationship, even though you're just south of us in Iowa. Also, sort of a land trust protectee myself. I just needed to say that out loud. Thank you so much for what you do. However, thank you so much, even more importantly, for being a guest here on the official Do Good Better podcast.
Patrick, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. Really appreciate your time.
Super fun, my friend. Thanks.